Let's move on to the 1.8s. All right, so first we have coming up is the Credo. Credo, who wants to go first?
Find this thing here.
Notes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I'm going through my notes.
Danny.
I enjoyed the Credo. Frankly, I'd pick a different optic in the 1.6 or 1.8 range. It's nice. The turrets were great. I love that. It's clear, right? I mean, we should expect that.
It's
for the price point.
Trijicon. I mean,
Yeah,
you're gonna get a mid-tier optic with
You're
it.
getting a quality, mid-tier optic with it. I like the Credo better than its other brother, but I just wasn't an overall fan. So I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Can I just say it'll get the job done.
Absolutely.
That's it.
It definitely will get
You're
the
getting
job
green.
done.
You're getting red. No, but it's cool. The turrets had a nice audible feel.
Well, they're exposed and locking.
And I heard.
That's, you know.
I don't. One thing I didn't like in a Trijicon, this is what they do. Everything's heavy. So
Yeah.
that optic was a little too heavy for me. If I'm running lasers, I'm running weapon mounted lights with a 30 round magazine and other shit that you run in your guns, like what, charms and shit.
Yeah.
Like, the gun's gonna get a little fucking heavy.
Yeah.
So
Well, and it's by the time you put a mount on it, it's going to be the heaviest one. Out
Yeah,
of those.
I'm not-
even heavier than the VCOG, which everybody complains about.
all I'm saying is I can get something a lot better for cheaper and get a lot more out of it. I think the Credo, in my opinion, is a washed out optic, and I think that Trijicon needs to move on from it. It served its purpose, but we have moved on. That's
I mean,
what I think.
this 1-8 shootout's the biggest one, right? So
Yeah.
we have 9 optics
Yeah.
to look
I'm
at.
not saying anything bad. It's a good optic. It's been out here for a long time now, and
Yeah.
I think it's washed out.
Yeah.
That's my final thought on that.
Doug, you want to go ahead with it?
Yeah, one of the things I did note here was that since I'm a big weight freak on that kind of stuff, it's just way too heavy.
Yeah.
Like, the optic is nice. It does have the audible locking turrets and
Yep.
stuff, and it has all the good features. But I just don't want a 2-pound paperweight just swinging off the side of my gun. Like,
Sure.
it's just it's a lot.
Yeah, with a mount, you're approaching 2 pounds on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You
It's
know.
that. I understand combat proven and all that, but I mean, if I'm throwing my rifle out of a moving car, and it doesn't break, does it really matter?
Right.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and to be fair, the Credo's not combat proven. The
Yeah.
VCOG is. So,
Yeah.
The Credo was made for sport shooting.
Right.
Yeah.
So
It was made for 3-gun,
It
right?
is the
Or some shit
cheapest
like
of
that.
our entire group.
it is.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a second focal plane optic too.
I don't
Actually,
hate it.
It's first.
That's a first
Oh, it
focal
is
plane.
Yeah, it's first.
Okay.
Both the Trijicons were. I don't hate it. I'm not a huge fan of the reticle, but it'd kind of shine in like a DMR type role, I think. Especially if you wouldn't be too concerned about weight. The illumination is kind of lackluster in the sunshine. And it's heavy. It's got some of the nicest turrets out of the bunch, but let's face it, buy a scope for that. So
Yeah.
great glass.
Did you look down
You know,
the green?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, the green was
both.
like awesome.
Yeah,
the green.
but
yeah.
it's still not bright though.
Still not. Well,
So-
I was having an easy time picking up the green
Right.
on that. I was messing it. I didn't shoot it, but I messed with the optic,
Right.
and I was magnifying out on the steel targets. But I like the green, but
So
All right.
Are we good on the Credo? Okay. Final verdict on that. It's okay.
Yes.
Clear.
I'm
All
good
right.
with
Let's
it.
move on. Next we have the Vudu 1.8. Vudu 1.8. What do we think about that one? I got some opinions on that.
Yeah. So that was our second, cheapest optic. Not that any are cheap,
Right.
but it was our second lowest price point with the HC3 reticle. I wanted to love the Eotechs. The glass is clear. I'm a big
Yeah.
Eotech fan, right? I would choose a holographic all the time if I could, or when I need to, rather. But I wasn't really impressed by either. So I'm just gonna kind of leave it there. It was, it like the Trijicon, it has good clear glass,
Yep.
but it wasn't my favorite to shoot.
It was on like the same level of clarity as the Trijicon glass. In my
Yeah.
opinion, I kind of didn't really see a difference with them
Right.
with the glass, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really care for it. It's what of the ones that have like a center dot type reticle that's illuminated. It was definitely the dimmest. Now it's a sample group of 1.
Yeah.
So that being said, it's really similar to the Razor in terms of the reticle. and the whole package, so you get a little more magnification. But I found that entire scope just kind of lacking for me.
Let me ask
what
you,
I look
if
for.
you had a different reticle on there, let's say like a ACSS, or you had just an SR3 reticle with
Okay.
the 4, 5, 6 drops, would that
What?
have made a difference?
Not if it's not daylight bright.
I agree.
You know,
Yeah.
that's just me though.
Yeah.
You know, and I we talk about these online and stuff, and some guys that's important too. And I've had guys that I respect their opinion tell me I'm crazy for feeling like that. For feeling the way I do about the brightness, but the type of shooting that we do, if you're going to be fast, it needs to grab your eye.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
You know, because you're looking through it, right?
Yeah.
So you're not looking at it. So it's got to be something substantial
Sure.
that you can see.
And just to be clear and as a reminder, our standard was using the LPVO as a dot and
At
a
1x.
powered optic, right?
Right.
So, we're not talking about offset RMR or, a
Yeah.
top mount RMR or any other optic as a secondary, right? It's can this LPVO perform on its own? So I think that's playing into our opinion.
Yeah.
We could go further and say, all right, well, what if we had an offset RMR? How would we like it? That might change things, but
Yeah.
we are objectively and subjectively looking at these from the point of view of it's working on its own and how does it work.
Yeah.
So I had a little time behind this and the 1 to 10 at ORD this year, and pretty much nothing has changed between August and now. It does have clear glass. I have that written down here. I got a question mark here with zoom, with the clarity. I think when messing around with it, it didn't seem that clear when I had it zoomed all the way in. Definitely dim dot. I got that capitalized, which I do remember from ORD kind of going like, ugh, like it's
Yeah,
not
okay.
like you would expect that to have.
Now,
that
I,
kind
now
of
I
signature.
remember. Now that red
Yeah.
dot was
Yeah.
like translucent. I could see
But
through it.
that
At full
duplex,
power.
the cross.
Right.
This is, I think, when I started to realize like that cross does help when you're looking at something and you're just looking for that flash of red. If you line up that hash on something and you just see it, you could just let it snap, and
Sure.
and most of the time you're going to hit something.
Okay.
Most of the time,
Most
you
of
know
the
what I
time,
mean?
Shot confirmation
Yeah.
at its finest.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's our final verdict on this Vudu?
I mean, I'm out on the scope.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's bad, but it doesn't have what I'm looking for.
Gotcha.
It's not daylight bright. The reticle it's got a very minor BDC in it.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be good for a DMR.
Okay.
It's not.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say about it. And that's all you need to. That's my statement. I'm
Damn.
sticking to it.
Damn, the Voodoo's getting some hatred right now. All right, Doug, what do you got? Final thoughts on that Voodoo?
I mean, it's an LVPO. You know what I mean? It's an optic. You know.
Is it going to get the job done?
I mean, like again, like we were talking about with the mounts.
Yeah.
If you practice with anything enough,
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
become proficient.
Yeah.
But this is a first, like we.
Yeah, impressions?
This is not something that we.
If
have
I pick
got
this
a lot
up
of
in a
time
store,
on.
how much does this thing cost?
It's like
this
15,
one.
16, right? Something like that, 17.
No, the 1 to 8 is $12.99.
$12.99. If I picked this
Oh.
thing up in a store
Okay.
and said, and this guy, you know, I'm looking through it, and the guy goes $12.99, I'd go, you know,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Would having a different reticle matter? Like an SR3.
Well,
green.
again, it's being subjective to what the Eotech does.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't primary arms with their ACSS.
Sure, sure.
Eotech has their circle and their dot.
Yeah.
I don't really think that would help it because, again, without getting into it right now,
Yeah.
the 1 to 10, I have.
Would a
similar.
Would green have made a difference than red?
No, I mean,
No.
I shoot a piggyback
Yeah.
green armor. I don't think that really matters. To
Okay.
be honest with you, that doesn't.
Because for
Yeah.
me that matters. My eyes pick up the green a lot better than red.
Some people do have.
So
that, yeah.
no,
yeah.
all day. Like if you gave me that, so for that I'm out. The fact that I remember seeing the dot and having a hard time picking it up, for me, just for that reason, I'm out on the Voodoo. So
So
we're
that's
good on that.
Yeah.
All right. Overall, still a good optic. If you train on it, you're good to go. All right, let's move on to the primary arms and my favorite optic, the 1x8.
You gonna let that out of the bag already? All right.
Oh, it's my favorite optic. I've been said that. I'm pretty sure I've been on camera saying
yeah,
that.
you pretty much said that a few times.
So.
At $14.99, right? This particular optic is in the the lower third of the ones that we tested, or just real close to it.
Yep.
The glass, I'm impressed by it, right? When Paul said he was going to bring it into this shootout, and I'm going to call it a shootout of optic, I was just really impressed by the glass. The first time I looked through it, I was super excited. I thought, this thing's going to come in swinging. The ACSS reticle is pretty well known, and it just kind of underperformed for me.
Did it really?
Yeah, I mean, overall, like, I didn't shoot it very fast. The reticle was a little busy. I thought it was going to be a little bit better for me.
Yeah.
But I love it. I mean, at $14.99, it's a strong contender.
Could you see that optic growing? Let's say like you had one.
Oh, yeah. Well,
could you see that optic growing on you?
Like Doug said, I mean, I feel like that I could train to any of these optics and reticles. Yeah. But, this is definitely one that I could train to. Yeah. More so than some of the others.
Yeah. And we know that reticle for unknown distance.
Yeah. No,
measuring and getting my range. It's a cheat code. I love that reticle.
Yeah. Go ahead, Doug.
So a couple things, like good things. Definitely has a pretty decent eye box. I have that written down, and it's very bright.
Very bright.
Very bright, which, again, to Paul's credit, yes, I do look for that with a dot. Like Dan was saying, it is rather busy, and for some reason I have outer ring adds too much complexity. So maybe instead of that horseshoe top, if they would have just had the chevrons with a thinner ring, maybe something smaller, that might have hit home a little bit better for me on that. Because like when you blow that out, I mean, you're talking about it at 8 power now. Yeah. When you blow that optic out, that reticle is now big inside the, when you can cover up stuff at a distance with your optic, or your reticle, especially that outer ring, if there's like, if you're at a 2-gun or some kind of match like that, where you're shooting at smaller stuff at distance using that optic, and that reticle can cover up what you're trying to shoot, then, I mean, what good is that?
And transition work, too.
Yeah.
That could be a problem.
Yeah. I think this might have been one of the ones where I was anticipating it, where I was shooting one target and then snapping to the other, and as soon as I would catch just that flash of red on the steel, going to the next target of that outer ring, my reticle, my center point isn't lined up yet. It's only on the edge, and I was just like pulling it too fast.
And that's because you can't see the entire...
Yeah.
All right, so I think I'm going to agree with you on that. I think that all the optics that get busy like that, like the Eotech, we're going to get into it, but when they get busy at full power, I have a hard time picking up for transitions. I have a target here, I have a target maybe 10 feet to the left. So that's my gripe with the ACSS. Other than that, I thought it was really clear, super bright. My favorite optic. The signature on it, as far as the way it looks, the signature was really small. It was really light.
Had great turrets.
We had it. What mount we had it on, Paul?
That was on my Unity, which
and on that Unity mount, for me, that height, keeping my neck more like erect, and having that brightness, the word that I would describe is pleasant. It was a pleasant optic to shoot.
Yeah, it was.
More so for me than anything else. And reason being, brightness. Everything was crisp.
Right behind the glass.
Right behind the Kahles,
Right. Yeah. My turn?
Yeah, go for
it. All right. It's the only scope I've ever messed up dropping. I dropped it off my bench, and I dented the front bell. Like, I didn't dent it. I folded it completely in on top of itself. Now, I'm going to take my swing. My whole deal here, Dimitri, I believe that's the guy that develops these things for primary. If you're watching this, do like Nightforce does and give us a ring that threads in on the front of the scope. And give me a reticle that is a dot that's daylight bright, and I'll never buy another scope again.
All right.
Well, yeah.
Heavy words.
That red dot on 1X is missing for me.
It is. Yeah. And I liked ACSS, but for my application, for my use, on this one as compared to even the cheaper ones that I have, because it's first, it gets so darn big, right? That it, like you guys said, it gets busy.
I give this optic a lot of credit
What's the price?
And
point
I
on
say
this
it's
thing?
because it's my favorite.
$13.99.
I give it a lot of credit.
$13.99. Now that
Yeah. So
yeah,
look,
yeah.
I give it a lot of credit because they haven't done anything like this. They've been a budget optic now for a while, and then they just come out with something that's
Well,
awesome.
they had the platinum line and
They
stuff.
did,
but I've
yeah,
never
but still,
had any of those.
this blows them away.
But at $13.99, it makes primary contender.
Does
I think
sure.
that the next
Yeah.
iteration is going to be even better.
I think
right?
so, but they got to listen to their customers in these
yeah.
reviews, right?
Well, yeah, but I'm one, and a lot of people don't. I would love to see, if I'm just going to throw it out there, I would love to see a reticle similar to the ATACR or the Razor 10. Not in terms of at magnification, but in terms of on 1X.
1X.
Yeah, 1X,
Like a
1X.
nuclear bright dot on this thing.
That
And
would be
man,
the best
the
optic
glass is great. The outer
Yeah.
ring just kind of disappears when you back off it a little bit.
ever. So
Like I said, I probably wouldn't buy a different
The
scope.
turrets
I
than-
think what
great.
you're saying,
Yeah,
I think I'm going to
turrets are
agree
great.
with you on that statement. If they gave us, just like you said, if a super bright 1X dot,
Yeah.
I would never use another optic again.
I'd be hard pressed.
And some type of threaded, either kill flash or something in the front.
Got the best
Yeah,
of
well,
both
it
worlds.
does come with a
Yeah.
longer sunshade, which
Yeah.
would have just dented that instead of.
Yeah.
But then that sunshade's, inch and a half or so, and
Yeah.
that kind of takes away from the footprint.
The
of it.
footprint,
So,
right?
Nightforce, that ATACR has that nice ring that threads in.
Yeah.
And that's
Right.
all it takes.
Yeah, it's a eighth of an inch.
Overall, I think it is the, in my opinion, I said it in the first video, it's the elephant in the room
Yep.
because they just came out with something really nice, but it's missing
Yeah.
some things. I don't think there's a perfect optic on here. There might be, I don't know. For me, there was nothing perfect, but this was as close as perfect as you can get. For me, using the ACSS reticle, I have a really easy time measuring
Yeah.
with that. I can make my hits and my holdovers. I learned how to shoot the ACSS reticle,
Right.
so it's my preference.
If you want to really, good DMR, good hunting scope, I would think it would be.
Yeah.
Overall,
You know,
anything
I just-
really. I've
for-
used it in a
for
lot of different
two-gun, three-gun,
applications.
I wasn't a fan of it.
Okay.
Of the reticle, I love
What's
the
the
scope.
weight
I
on
wasn't a
that?
fan of the reticle. It's the
It's-
second
it's
lightest.
the
I
second
think.
Second
lightest.
light. Oh, well, I
16
mean, for 14, for basically 1400, that's not
Yeah.
16 ounces.
16
I mean,
ounces, and it has the third highest field
And
of
when
view at
Premier
1
Arms
ounce.
is
I
putting it on a
mean,
sale,
that-
like a 12% off, I don't
That's
know,
how I
usually
got
running
it.
sales.
For $100 more than the Vudu.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
night and day.
light
Yeah,
years ahead of
yeah,
it.
light years,
Yeah.
light
Yep,
years.
yep,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they're running a sale, you're getting it even cheaper. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
you know. Are we good, Doug? You got anything more on it?
No, it's,
All right.
yeah.
Let's rock and roll. Let's move on to.
Cool.
So overall, Premier Arms did well. Let's move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Next, we have the NX8, Nightforce NX8.
Doug?
Yeah,
Oh!
Doug. Yeah.
Well, I don't have a lot good to say on this. And again, I have no skin in the game. I'm not getting paid, so it's just whatever. Blurry 1X. It does have a small form factor,
Yep.
which it does add to it. Extremely picky eye box.
Yes.
And then I have
Yep.
the words "very bad, not good" written down, which I mean it's
For field notes, that's
damn.
pretty
yeah,
clear.
yeah,
Well-
terrible learning curve coming from a red dot.
Damn.
It must have a very restrictive, like field of view
Okay.
or something. And I believe, blurry. It's blurry. And again, messing with the diopter, trying to get
I
it to
saw
work
it.
for
I saw
me.
you doing it.
Yeah.
I will
It's-
confirm that
Yeah,
you
it's
fucked
not.
with it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not.
And I was doing the opposite. You hand me the optic, I shoot it.
Yeah.
I will not
It's-
mess with it.
How,
Well,
how
it got
much
to
is
the-
this one?
I got to
They're
look
like
the price.
17.
Yeah, around
It was up there.
Yeah.
It was
$16.99,
$1,000 less than
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ATACR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
All right, Dan, what do you got?
Well, I mean, everything that I need to say has been said.
Dan, dude,
It's
gotta move along
$17.50.
tonight.
$17.50.
That's
right?
expensive.
So, compared to a $1,500 primary, I'd rather go get some ammo and train to use
Yeah.
the
Hell
primary
yeah,
better.
get 1,000
right?
rounds for that difference.
Yeah. So, I just, the fish bowling for me it's just, I know it's not noticeable at distance, but it is actually on that one. That's like the only one where, I looked at the initial photos and said, oh, everything's got a fishbowl except for like 2. That's the only one that I shot that it carried over. The field of view is absolutely terrible. It looks worse than it is on paper.
Yeah.
And I just want absolutely nothing to do
So
with
if I
it.
told
I
you
understand why it's
on
polarizing
sale,
online.
if I told you on sale, you'll get a primary
No.
arms
No.
for $1,200. Hold on. $1,200 for the primary arms, the
Yeah.
way, plus 1,000 rounds of ammo, or get the NX8.
Yeah, I'm buying the primary.
All right.
Yeah, 3 times. I mean, it just I want nothing to do with the NX8 at all.
All right.
Yeah.
It's daylight bright. Yeah,
It's daylight,
it's daylight bright, and if you want
That's
the smallest scope,
Yeah.
like the physically smallest scope, not the lightest, but the smallest footprint, this is your man.
Barely though.
You can train through a lot of the stuff that these guys are talking about, but the glass isn't good at all. I don't think, and I think that's general consensus.
Yeah.
You know, the eye box makes it really hard to use if you're in a hurry, and for me, that's where an LPVO shines. So I'm out.
Yeah, you're supposed to get best of both worlds. And for me, just adding on to what these guys are saying, because I think we're all in agreement. Super picky eye box. When I was coming out, I was trying to engage at a close target. I was having a hard time picking up the dot. A lot of fish bowling. And yeah, picky eye box, fish bowling, but the dot was red. I will give it to you.
Yeah.
The dot was easy to pick up.
Doug's stoking the fire here.
Doug.
Yeah, it's getting a little chilly.
All right, guys, so we're back from a short break. We just finished off with the NX8. Ragging on NX8,
Yeah,
frankly.
dragging it.
But we're going to move on to the VCOG. An optic I respect because it's been in service for a long time. A DMR type of optic, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so, Paul, what do you got?
Same as the Credo. I mean, honestly, I could give it or take it. It's not awful. It's got good glass. It's got good reticle. If that's the kind of shooting you want to do, it's on the heavy side, but you know the mount's built in.
Yep.
Yeah.
You
And I
know,
like that.
got to be tough as nails, and we didn't do any destructive testing on it.
Nah, we couldn't.
It's got to
not
be
ours.
tough. So yeah, I mean that's.
Yeah.
I think it's a solid option, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's one that I talked about using as a baton.
Dude, first of all, stop. You wanted to kill everybody with every optic.
Well, you know, when you're handling them, they are sometimes impressively built, and the VCOG was one of them.
Yeah.
I liked the segmented MRAD
Yeah.
better than the other reticle. That said, I like the AA battery, a power source too, because
Sure.
those batteries are plentiful. So, you know, at
You highlighted
$1,800
that for sure in the first video.
Yeah, at $1,800, I think that if you're looking for something that can stand the test of time, can take some abuse, which we know it can, I think it's a great optic. And I think overall I liked shooting it. Were there more or other optics that I enjoyed better? Yes, but I wouldn't say no to owning one. You know,
Sure.
if I found a great deal on it, around $1,400,
Yeah.
I'd probably consider it just
Cool.
because of its legacy of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Doug.
Pretty much mirroring the same thing Dan was saying with the AA batteries thing.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
that is something to say when you could just literally go to a Rite Aid and just be like, oh, I just need batteries.
100 batteries.
Yeah. Some things I have written down here. It does have clear glass. It does have, again, I don't know if this is just my personal experience with it. I have hazy reticle and a hazy red ring. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that, again, is just, my eye or whatever. It just
Yeah.
seemed like it has this...
Haze to it.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
I agree.
film
I saw that
like
too.
on it. Yeah.
I saw that too.
It was hazy for me as well, actually. But that segmented dot is tight, and so I feel like it's like a 12 MOA dot. I don't know the exact
Yeah.
total space that it takes up, but you get that on target. I felt like you could shoot even the edges a little
Absolutely.
more as compared to like the ACSS.
Yeah.
Right. It felt a little tighter, and I was able to push that optics. Abilities a little bit further than some of the others.
Yeah, it wasn't slow.
Cool.
No.
You know.
No.
So I think if you're building like a GWatt DMR rifle, that's the way to go. All right. A little too pricey for me. $1,800 is a little too much for that.
How about at 14, like you asked me?
For
before?
yeah. Then
Yeah.
I'll buy it all day. There was one thing Paul didn't like about it, which I think
The-
you're going to get to.
The reticle or the
yeah.
turrets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
You got
the
an issue with the
turrets.
turrets.
They were bad.
But going back to that, the segmented MRAD was a little hazy. I distinctly remember, but I also have a lot of time behind that optic. I don't like the fact that the mount is built in. I know why they did it, but I don't like it either. I don't know the exact height on it, but I think if you're running a laser, you can't run it on top. You're gonna have to run it to the side, which we often see. And I know I did. I ran my lasers off to the side too.
Right.
the double A battery. It's a double A battery they use, right?
Yep.
And then the theory behind that, I think, is, well, our PVS 14s downrange use double A batteries too. So when you're out in the field and you got to bring gear with you, it's streamlined.
Well,
I
and
got
you have
double A's.
the 512s in service then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I got double
there.
A's. All I have to do is pack a little bag, and no one's giving you double A's in the military. You're going and you're pretty much buying them on your own. If you're a squad leader or a platoon sergeant, so it's really easy just to go buy a 12 pack, put them in a little plastic bag. You got enough double A's for your PVS 14s and your optic out in the field when you're whatever you're doing. So I like that. It's rugged, stands the test of time. I've seen them out in the field. I never saw one break. I've seen one on the floor, a guy kicking his rifle for whatever reason. He got frustrated with a member of his team, kicking the shit out of his rifle. Guess what? That rifle was on patrol that night. There was nothing wrong with it. So I appreciate the optic, I think, but for commercial use, like for us, for civilian use, they should have dropped the price.
Yeah.
That's my only issue with the VCOG.
Yeah.
Is that right there? Or I would have been using one. And then the mount. What was the issue with the turrets though?
They're not marked at all. There's not even a hash. So if you're
Where the fuck do you know
actually
where you
trying to
are?
dial, right? Like if you want to dial a little elevation into it, you don't have a zero. You don't have a spot to return to zero. So
not even a zero, like with a hash
no,
mark?
there's nothing on either of the turrets.
What the fuck?
Plus it's got the tethers on the caps, right? Which is great because you don't lose them, but it's impossible because you can't take the cap off with one hand.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Overall, really, really good optic. It's just overpriced in my opinion. I see that as like a $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 optic.
Yeah.
That's what I see it at. But Trijicon, they're also selling their name.
Yeah.
Anything from there is going to be expensive.
I mean, most RMRs are overpriced, right? for
Like
what
the
they are.
ACOG. We're having big controversy in the group right now over ACOGs.
Well, that's
Still not
That's
paying.
a different video.
yeah. We know
It's a
why that
different
is.
video. Did I just start some shit?
No,
Anyway,
no.
let's move on from that, guys. Let's move on to the Kahles 1.8. Doug, can you start us off, please?
Yep.
I see you looking at your notes.
So this is the one that I don't think I liked that much because it has two dots underneath each other.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was kind of distracting where, again, doing the drills that we were doing, you're pulling up on the target and you have just two dots sitting right on top of each other. And you would think that if you could put them both on the target, you would hit. And it seemed to me like as soon as I would see that flash of red, I'm looking too low. Or if I'm looking for that flash of red, now I'm like over the target.
Yeah.
It just seemed like that was one that I struggled with a lot.
Just adding to that, like I could see that being a problem under pressure
Yeah.
Yep.
when you have tunnel vision, and you're finding the first dot that your eye's picking up.
Yep. Yeah.
Then I could see that being a problem if offset is an issue.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking like for a top half of a target, and I have a
Oh,
vested,
yeah.
or like even like a vested opponent, that dot could end up not giving me a good shot. So for me, that's a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I did like the glass and all. I have that written down. I mean, again, it is a good optic.
Yeah.
It just, the reticle to me, when, again, like with me trying to go as fast as I could and actually, like, use it.
Yeah,
like,
you were pushing
first-
it to its limit for sure. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. I
mean, like, you were definitely boogieing. with
oh
that-
yeah,
with that rifle.
I was trying to do the best that I could do. That reticle messed me up more than
Yeah.
it didn't.
Well, it's a two dots. I had
Yeah,
the same problem
yeah.
too. So
I actually I shot that with the top dot at the top of the A zone,
Yeah.
or the top of the C steel, and that bottom dot, kind of hovering, we'll say belly level.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
So that's the way I ran it. Actually, only because I think Doug shot it first and mentioned that second dot. So when I picked it up, hadn't had any time behind it, but I figured, all right, well, I'm going to try to shoot it this way. It worked out for me. And I'll let Paul talk a little bit about our times that we had with that optic, but at $2,500, I don't know.
pricey.
Yeah, again,
German
I'd rather-
glass.
Yeah, the glass is great. We all agree on that,
Yeah.
but it's not the right optic.
It was
for me.
just as clear as the 1.6.
yeah,
Right.
they were,
I mean, it was the same thing, just different reticle.
yeah, they were 1 foot different in
Right.
field
Yeah.
of view at 1x.
Right, the 8 being higher.
I didn't even
Yeah,
notice
with
that, to be
API.
honest with you. I didn't
Yeah.
even notice that. When I was all the way out, I didn't notice that field of view
Yeah,
difference.
so it's really nice. I understand why they're so highly regarded, because that glass is fantastic. But
Mm-hmm.
I would take the 16 over the 18 if I was picking between the two.
Okay.
So the the K18, like the K16, they're competition scopes. You know,
Second fold
you
plate.
can really see that on the K18 because it's got the biggest throw lever I've ever seen in my life on it, which is really cool, right? In the video, because I've watched all the video and gotten all the times and all that stuff of everybody running drills and stuff, every person that shot that this scope struggled with the reticle. It's nothing I don't think you couldn't train through, but it's not as intuitive as some of the other ones. And since we're comparing them all side to side, I mean, I was super stoked to get the 3GR reticle because I thought whenever I ordered mine in the 16 and the SG1, I thought, man, I screwed up. I'm glad I have the reticle I do. It's brighter illumination-wise than the 16.
Super
Good field
light.
of view. It's light. Great glass. Awesome throw lever. I think if it had the SG1 reticle in it, SL1. I'm sorry, SL1 is the one that I have. I would be a bigger fan, but then again, maybe if I had some more time with it, I'd be a bigger fan too. Because, like I said, everybody here on video, oh man, I shot the wrong dot.
Yeah.
And when we hit on these drills, this was the fastest scope, and it was faster than our testing with an aim point.
Yeah.
But we missed a lot with this one.
We did.
And I'm going to lend that to the problem with the two dots stacked right on top of each other.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess in a defensive situation, though, just putting those two dots center mass, not a problem. But that's not what the intended purpose of this optic was.
right.
So
I mean, we were
that's
shooting.
my only
Well, yeah,
issue.
I mean, if I was building like a HD rig or something like that, I wouldn't go with Kahles on it, regardless of what scope it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is they're both fantastic 3-gun competition scopes.
Yeah.
This reticle, the 3GR, doesn't lend itself much to DMR type shit.
No.
But yeah, we all struggled with the two dots on it.
I know
And
I did for sure.
It's like I said, it's a training thing, but it's still there, so we're going to talk about
But
it.
that's something you can get past if you train enough with it, like we mentioned earlier.
Or
If that was my designated optic and that's what I was shooting with every day, that dot problem would go away.
It would,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's also a
Yeah.
problem we didn't have with many of the other scopes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but if that's something you're considering, and something to look out for.
Yep.
So, but other than that, glass is clear. I mean, it's superior. It really is, in its own way, So I'll leave it at that. But I'm not gonna for that price. Again, $1,200 for that ACSS. So, anyway, you got
14.
anything on that?
No,
Good to go.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. So that's all final verdict on Kahles. Good optic. But yeah, little issue with the dots. So the next one we have, Paul, and I'm going to let you start off with this one, the ATACR. I know you have a
Yeah,
love
don't
relationship
let
with
me
this.
start off with the ATACR.
All right. We'll
Let's-
save you for
let's
last.
go
We'll save
hear
you for
these
last.
guys.
Let's let Doug go first.
All right, good.
I have my
Let's
own.
go with the notes. Let's go with the
Okay,
notes.
so I had a personal experience with the ATACR that seemed like nobody else did, and this is maybe something that again I don't have astigmatism. I don't know, but the center dot with the 4-segmented circle around it, to me at 1x, messing with the it doesn't have a diopter. I see that here. Trying to get it focused in where that wasn't where it was a dot, I couldn't do it. It literally looked like a double rainbow with a dot underneath.
Well,
could be your eyes.
that's probably my fault because the rings were probably locked and out there messing with it.
But when I
'Cause-
zoomed in, I could see the
Well,
four
it's
segmented.
changing the focus.
Oh, all right.
You know,
Yeah.
because it's
I did not like that, and I mean, if that was something that was caused by end user
it was
error,
probably the ocular adjustment.
yeah,
Probably.
then fine.
Because
But-
you know, Dave, who's not here, that helped us shoot. Thanks, Dave. He mentioned the same thing because you guys were over there talking.
Oh
about
yeah,
video.
yeah.
You know, he was kind of seeing two pairs on top.
Yep. And
No.
and I again, I don't know how much this thing costs here.
$2,800.
$2,800.
a lot of
That's
money.
that's a lot of money, and that is like radically not acceptable. Like
For-
if that was not an
Yeah.
end user error, then that's my fault. But if that's something that people do get, like, oh, that's just like the ATACR.
I mean,
like,
how
no
could that
way.
even pass,
So
like, engineering
Well,
portion of
it
this?
might have been the ocular adjustment, but
Yeah, it
the
could've
important
been,
thing
yeah.
for me is we're sitting here talking about it. Like
Yeah.
Doug's,
yeah,
given his, you
Yeah.
know, we're not holding anything back, right?
No.
You know,
Absolutely
so,
not.
And let's just note too,
This is
that-
a raw review.
Yeah.
This is not. We're not being paid here.
No.
Yeah.
And to be fair to everyone here in their review, we mounted that dot, and Paul and I went out and zeroed them at 50.
That's right,
And
you did.
that's where we put it, right?
Yep.
So moving it back for Doug or me or anybody sitting here
Right.
or forward, there was room for that to happen, but we didn't do it during our testing. Right?
Sure.
We mounted it in the spot where it was zeroed, and we ran it as such.
Yep.
So that goes for any
yeah,
of these.
we
you know.
relied on stock adjustment for the
Yeah,
most part.
we just
and that was
adjusted
it,
the
you
stock
know.
to try to get it right. Can you get more out of it? Can you slide it within the rings? Those are things that aren't at play here, but I mean, it's definitely a good observation, and it was observed by two of us.
Yeah. So before Paul gets this, I'm just going to give it one word. It's a workhorse. It's
Yeah.
rugged.
Yeah.
It's good
Oh,
enough
yeah,
for
Danny.
SOCOM.
Yeah.
You named it a workhorse?
No. It's a baton.
It's a baton.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a baton.
It's the, all right.
Yeah. So
It's
Um,
girthy is what we coined
yeah,
it,
we
right?
called it girthy.
It's a workhorse. There's a lot you can do with it.
First focal plane.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was clear. The glass is clear. Illumination. The magnification was excellent. Glass was super clear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got that.
Super clear.
Yeah. The glass was fantastic.
It is, again, another, but $2,800 is my problem.
Well, something
You know?
here for that price again. I have no diopter. I mean, how can you charge that amount with no diopter? Like my eye.
There might be something to that. I'm
Well,
not-
like I
yeah,
said,
there
I
could
think
be.
it-
There could be.
There could be
again,
some, because I don't see how
not a
they're going to get
scientist.
away with,
Yeah.
with that.
I
just don't know
must
what
have
that
been
is.
locked because the Nightforce,
You can lock the ring.
yeah,
right?
it
So-
must have been locked to the mag ring because it's a little different than the rest of them the way
Yeah.
it's built, right? Like you lock it to the mag ring and then
Oh, all right, well
it's
then-
kind of hard to explain. I'm butchering it, but it's got an ocular adjustment.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
then that
Yeah.
no problem then. But yeah, weight. I think I got that on the
Pretty
question.
big. I think it was huge.
It's huge,
Is-
but it's not
is that,
insanely heavy. I don't
that
think.
one, weight wise, you're at 22.1, so
It's pretty heavy.
middle of the road.
Yeah, but
I mean, but the thing is, it looks big.
Yeah.
yeah.
versus like
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
Trijicon-
It's definitely
Yeah,
looks
Yeah.
34
Credo
millimeter tube.
has a much smaller signature, and
Right.
it's just even heavier or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But
So-
if that's a optic that I'm going to take to combat, I'll be confident with that.
Yeah.
It's gone through a lot of testing. So it's a good optic. I like it.
I loved it.
Clear.
It's a baton. I feel like you could take it off of a QD. Literally
Club somebody with
club
it.
somebody with it, put it back on, and it would hold zero. The turrets were fantastic.
Oh,
And
very
I'm just
audible,
going to say
yeah.
this again, and Paul and I did the comparison between the two Nightforces. It is nuclear bright. That was our word of the day when
Yeah.
we did those
Yes.
short clips. It is so bright, it just makes everything else look dull.
Yes.
And so I really love that feature.
Yep.
I know that some of these we replaced batteries in, so we got to see them, low and high.
Mm-hmm.
And by low, I just mean we could tell they weren't as bright as they should be. But the ATACR is bright, it's clear, it's functional, it's tough.
I just don't know if I'm willing to spend $2,800 unless flex off some of my own priority in the group.
No, I think
Which
it
they're not.
punches its
Well,
weight.
No, I'm
I
not.
think
I'm not
it
paying
punches its
$2,800 for it. Sorry.
I mean, you want my thoughts on it?
Yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
You want my unadulterated, like, well, we're ruining the end of the video right now, thoughts
No,
on
no,
it?
no, no, no. Just give us your thoughts on the ATACR.
Hit us.
All right. I think it's a fantastic scope if you can bring yourself to pay the money for it.
So if you're not poor,
It's nuclear bright, like Danny said. What's that?
if you're not poor,
Well, or if you can budget it,
Cordova financing.
Yeah, Cordova, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Euro Optic does that. I have no idea. Maybe Andy can hook them up. I don't know, but it's a great scope. I was really looking forward to get this one in front of me. I had never even looked down one before, and
You were anti-Nightforce.
I just hate
Kinda.
I hate the fanboys, and they're not that bad. They're really not.
No.
But it seems like when you get a Nightforce fan, it's like it's Nightforce or it's, pardon my French, fucking nothing. And I didn't understand it. And I'm not gonna say that I've gone that far, but I mean, the ATACR's next on my list. How's that for
I
scopes?
will say the
gotta buy?
ATACR is a super, super rugged, SOCOM built optic. That's hiking the mountains of
I'll do my
they're-
actual thoughts on this.
You know what I
scope
mean? Like
at the end of
they
the
are
video.
literally in the mountains, like with those optics. You
Yeah.
know, I'm gonna leave it there, but yeah,
Yeah.
like. So if that's good enough for them, it's gonna perform.
Absolutely.
So anyway, are we good on that?
Yep.
We
Yep.
can circle back to this stuff a little later, but we have next the big boy, S&B,
Oh,
Schmidt and Bender,
The Schmidt.
the dual focal plane.
And now this is just
Dual
so I get
CC.
the price right.
Yeah.
5780.
5780.
When it's available. I don't
When
think
it's
you can buy it
available.
right now.
I found it.
Oh,
Like
all
I've been
right,
looking the last couple days. It is sold out everywhere.
All
Cannot
right,
find
all
it.
right, all right.
But it's
For
nice.
57.80.
when it was for sale. But
Yeah,
anyway.
5780.
All right. All right.
This is the dual CC.
All right, listen. With taxes, you're at
Short dot.
5900. So.
Okay. So you're at $6,000.
Oh, sorry.
Buying a car.
The one place I looked wasn't even free shipping. You had to pay shipping.
Well, that's good. You know what I mean. You know, that's,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
All right, so
There's
Doug,
delivery fees on the car.
what'd you think about the Schmidt? You were excited to shoot this.
This was the when
He had the most, not problem, but he was the most visually.
aroused by
Aroused.
it.
think-
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
I
no,
think
I
he was
I
erect.
I
Yeah,
had never.
most of the time.
I'm gonna say this right off the bat. You know, I have
couldn't
a primary 1-6. You know, and I piggyback an RMR, and I shoot a lot like that. So this was the first time I ever held anything that was over $1,000. So I mean, right away, you know, I said, okay, you know, well, what is exactly a more or less $5,800 rifle or rifle optic? It looks great.
Yeah.
And that
Looks like alright,
the
yeah.
CC mode that's on it is awesome. The idea, I think the technology really isn't, without offending anybody or saying something that maybe would make me look stupid, I don't think the technology is there yet to have a second and first focal
No,
plane
no.
locked into one optic.
The way it was portrayed was.
Yeah, it's
Kinda-
it's a LCAN Spectre. It's a red dot and a LVPO on a Lazy Susan that spins inside this
Yeah,
optic.
sure.
It's a strange concept. Do I see this being the future? Absolutely.
I don't even think it's a strange concept. You either have a red dot
Yeah.
or you don't.
Well,
Like you're on 1x on a red dot, and as you zoom in, it's starting to come out.
yes, but your red dot on max power is not blown out. You're
yeah.
zoomed in, but you get a little bit of blow.
But did you notice that the edges of that circle were starting to fade out?
Oh yeah. It
It
had
was
a
so
little
blown
fade-
out
yeah.
that it started to like, you know.
There is a lot of technological things that
Yeah.
I'm sure in this, if there is a Gen 2, 3, 4, whatever, or something just
Yeah.
comes along that could imitate this, yeah, it is probably, I think it would be the future. One of the negative things that I think once I pointed out, maybe Paul and maybe you, Dan,
yeah.
picked up on it as well, is one thing that really stood out was when we were doing the transition drill from one target to the next.
Yeah.
When you drag that dot, so like typically, you know, you don't shoot and then drag, you know, you kind of unseat and then
Okay.
whip. If you're not, it's so hard to explain, like, unless you experience it yourself, but that dot would disappear and
Yeah.
you would just have
And it
that.
would come back. But it would
Yes,
come back.
it
yeah.
would. It would have just like the cross
Yeah.
for the first focal plane LVPO like hash reticle,
Mm-hmm.
the Christmas tree that's on it, kind of somewhat like exposed, and then the dot would literally like be. It would be here,
Yeah.
but your actual like center of your optic, your reticle is really here. So when you would go from one target to the next, your optic is on it,
Playing
but you
catch-up.
would, yeah, it would be, yeah,
Playing
exactly.
catch-up.
You're the
When
real
you
center.
Did at any point did you fire while it was catching up, and did you make?
Oh yeah, no, I would miss every time
Okay.
until I waited that. I believe this was the fastest though on any of them. Once I figured it out
Yeah.
that I'm not really looking for the
Yeah.
red dot when I'm transitioning. I'm actually looking for this
Yeah.
very faint black etched cross into it. And once I saw that on the black steel or the white steel, you could just hit it. And I mean, it is probably one of, like I said, the most technologically advanced for 5780.
Yeah.
For $5,800. should you buy this? In my opinion, this is my opinion.
Yeah.
Unless you're anticipating going to, I don't even
War?
know. Yeah, war like tomorrow.
Ukraine.
Well,
I don't.
Schmidt and Bender Optics have been in OEF and OIF.
Oh, yeah.
You know, from like the early 2000s. So they're not new to this. You know.
I don't think that your casual consumer or anybody
No.
that is, you could spend easily the what was it, 20 or 1,300 on the 1 to 8 primary arms.
Yeah.
And literally buy enough cases of ammo that your average person who's not shooting like
Well, yeah.
every weekend.
Or you
Yeah.
could buy what, 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah. You could buy 4 or 5. You know, I mean, the amount of money that you
Yeah.
can invest into
2
training.
ATACRs.
Sure.
Yeah, 2 ATACRs. I mean, that's a little nuts, you know.
So-
But
Just to pick,
It's true, though.
For me,
yeah, you could.
Just to piggyback off what you were saying. Well, one, I'm not buying that optic.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
matter how good it is.
Yeah,
It's too much
I'll take
money.
one for free.
Yeah, I'll take one for free.
Yeah, I mean,
if you want to give me
you
the
know what I mean?
optic, yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
I'll
But
yeah.
I'm just not paying that kind of money. Is it a $2,000 optic? Yeah, I'll buy it. 1X.
I would even almost say
shooting
that was
red dot,
probably a $3,000 optic because the technology, nobody else is doing that.
Maybe I don't know if you had left already, but I was doing some
35.
drills where I was doing like a hybrid entry through those 2 doors.
Yeah.
And using that red dot for what it was worth. And instead of target focus shooting, I was actually getting behind the red dot and actually like acquiring the target. So red dot on, you know, and then pulling the trigger. It was the fastest out of all of them.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was the
Yep.
most brightest, the biggest dot. So from 0 to 100, I'm all day. That's my favorite. It was more than the fire dot too. What else about that? And for me, it was the fastest.
Oh.
My fastest times were on that. I wonder why. There was nothing obstructing me. It was like shooting a red dot.
Yeah.
It was the same
That
exact speed as a
CC
red dot.
mode that's on
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
you know.
And my theory was I'm getting the best of both worlds. I have a true red dot. That's what it felt like. What I felt
the
was
weight
I
on
have a red dot. And when I need to pick up some magnification, I have that too.
Right.
Nothing else gave me that feeling. The fire dot did, but not as
Right.
strong as this one.
Right.
So, but I also don't think it's worth $5,800. I'll
it
settle
is
for
light.
less.
It is light for the
Yeah.
for what the features that are packed. Fits 16.9.
$16.95.
So basically a pound, 1 pound, 1
Yeah.
ounce.
And the color is absolutely
Yeah, the
awful.
RAL.
It
what is
does
it?
have a
RAL
good look.
8000, yeah.
It's an awful color. It looks like mustard.
Really? You don't
Yeah,
like that?
the
Oh
color-
man, I saw that.
the
I
color's
said,
awful.
"Whoa, that thing's got its own box and it's got
No way.
this cool color."
No way.
Oh, I'll take
Well, that was
that.
thanks to Jesse.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned about the dot, and you were really trying to push it, right? Because, $5,800, we should be able to get some good times out of it. But yeah, I noticed the same thing. When you moved to your next target, you had to wait for that dot to catch up.
Yeah.
And if you pulled the trigger before that happened, you were not going to hit it.
Yep.
Could you train it? Yes. You talked about how you solved the problem with that. But
Yeah, just slowing down.
you know, a tenth
of a second.
I love to shoot. I would rather invest in a different optic and shoot a
Yeah.
lot more.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But I mean, if one showed up at my door,
I see
What's
why
going
it's
on
worth
again?
more
Oh,
money,
yeah, yeah.
but I don't see why it's worth that much more money.
no, yeah, it's unique technology. It's a unique product. I might even say it's a $3,500 optic that I would feel
Yeah,
good about.
yeah.
Doug said 3. Yeah, definitely.
Still not buying it for $3,500.
Well,
Really?
Yeah, that's fair. But
Too
I mean,
much
at
money.
$3,500, maybe
I could do a lot more.
make some things happen.
It's lightweight for what you're getting. You're
Yeah.
getting 2 optics, 2 reticles on one scope that weighs less than 1.5 pounds.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a
I agree.
lot of stuff to jam in there.
Still a lot of money, man.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of money for
ton
sure.
of money.
I mean, I could literally buy a full power LA5 and the primary arms and 1,000 rounds of ammo. I mean, just think about it. Like putting that into perspective.
Oh, yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
can't-
yeah.
I can't justify spending that money.
Or you buy an SR-15 and a primary scope put on it.
There you
You know.
Flex on
So
the
it's interesting. I hadn't heard Doug explain. I heard you talking about it,
Yeah.
but I hadn't heard you explain your experience quite like that. And that's exactly what that technology is supposed to counter. It's really weird because their thought process apparently, and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, the dot is on the second focal plane.
Yes.
And so whenever it goes into that scope shadow, you're still supposed to be able to see and use the dot.
No.
Even though the dot's not hovering directly over it at that moment.
So I mean,
That
when
ain't
I,
real.
when I was running it,
Yeah.
you'd get that etch
Oh, you're
dot.
laughing at that.
Yeah, you'd get that etch dot on target and pull the trigger. It's the same thing Doug was doing. I was doing the
Right.
same thing.
Yeah.
I was transitioning.
But you're saying
quickly.
the lit dot wasn't on
The
It was
lit dot
you
was
couldn't
not
see
there.
it. Yeah,
and
you
if you
couldn't
pulled
see
the
it.
And
trigger
that's-
without it, it was not.
That's
on
what
target.
that's supposed to combat. I believe is what the technology is supposed to do.
I don't know.
So
I don't
the other reticle in this thing is fantastic
Yeah.
for DMR
Yeah.
type stuff. It's probably the best reticle out of the bunch. But I don't believe their eye relief numbers for a minute. I know we'll have them in the spreadsheet or whatever.
Yeah.
This scope, for me to get a good picture, it seemed like I had to almost like shove it in my face, whereas the other ones I could, be a little more comfortable and back off it a little bit. It seemed like I had to
Well-
be closer.
I remember one distinct thing. My eyebrow was touching
Was it?
the lens.
So-
At one point, I felt it, and I had to back out because I'm like, I don't want to give
Right.
myself a black eye on camera.
So it's a
So I
3.5.
backed up a little bit, and
Yeah.
thank God, there's our rifles don't have that much
Yeah.
recoil, but I got pretty damn close.
Right.
It's 3.54, which is like the third, closest.
Yeah,
eye
but
relief
I'm
of the
telling you,
bunch.
like
Yeah.
using it like every time I got behind that scope, I'm like, I gotta lean in a little bit, and it felt like it was closer than everything else. The eye box on it's not bad. That given, my favorite turrets out of the bunch. The color, I love it.
Those turrets were locking turrets?
Yeah, they're external, they're
locking,
locking.
exposed.
I remember.
Or exposed, yeah. Thank you.
Exposed locking, yep.
Yep.
Again, compared to what else you can buy for this thing,
ATACR or the S&B?
ATACR,
Yeah.
2 of them,
Two of them. Yeah. Two of them.
or
real.
an ATACR and a SR-15 from Brownells when the snipers don't catch them and
That's
stop
right.
to flip them.
All right, so let's
You know.
wrap up this S&B. Overall thoughts, guys, because we got to give this overall.
It's really cool.
I mean, the guy
Yeah.
sent us a really
It's-
expensive
it's-
option.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he did.
It was a really interesting review for this.
It was a
really
great
interesting-
experience, right?
It
I'll,
was.
I'll probably never hold an optic like that again, probably.
Probably not.
Thank you, Jesse. We really appreciate that. We were all excited for it, but I think that there's just some more simpler, proven optics out there that function at a higher expectation.
For me
Cheaper.
personally, I'll just say this to close it out for me as a final thought for it. Cool, but I'll
Yep.
pass.
Yeah.
Cool, but I'll pass.
Is this an issued optic in any way?
I don't
Oh,
know.
it's
I don't
been-
think so. And if it is,
No.
I don't know if the dual CC is.
No.
I know Schmidt's got
Yeah.
optics
Schmidt and
in
Bender-
I don't know. Like,
militaries.
They have
around
they
the
have
world,
toned
but-
down. They've targeted the European market a lot.
Yeah.
European police agencies and stuff like that. I know I did some training with Brussels. I shouldn't say this, but did some training with Brussels forces, and can't say too much, but they all had Schmidt and Benders on their DMRs on pretty much everything they had.
the only reason I say it is, I mean, I guess if you're into this new wave of like clone correct range toys,
Yeah.
if this was something that you would buy for that
Yeah.
and then have like basically a $15,000 fucking
Well,
rifle,
for-
yeah. I mean, yeah. If you could find a buyer and a seller, and,
I mean,
and
if
do
you
that,
have
yeah.
a good rifle,
Yeah.
packed out with some stuff, and then you just take your Schmidt and Bender, dual CC, and you just keep swapping it, and you'll never lose a flex off.
yeah, yeah,
Well, and here-
yeah. That's for sure. Yeah.
The one thing I'll try and relay about this thing, and it's bound to make somebody mad or whatever. If I buy a Schmidt, I'm buying it based on their reputation, right?
Yep.
Everybody that talks about Schmidt and Bender, oh, it's the best glass, it's the best this, it's the best that. On this particular scope, I didn't see that for 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, 5 times the cost.
Yeah.
If I was going to war and I could pick any of these things, I'd probably take that one.
I think
Because
Schmidt
in my
Bender-
mind, it's a Schmidt.
Wow.
It's probably going to be built
You really
tougher.
see what they're all about
but-
on their more long range stuff. That's where I really
Yeah.
saw it shine.
Yeah, that's
You
yeah.
know, making calls on 700 plus yard hits. That's where you see Schmidt shining. But I'm gonna pass on this optic.
Yep.
Not.
Yeah, but it sure was cool to have.
It was cool.
Oh yeah, it was
Had
definitely
fun.
cool. And if
Very
they got
cool.
one to send, dude,
Yeah.
you know,
Out of
they-
all the optics we shot, this was my favorite one to shoot, but not one that I would use.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap that up.
That's all the
All
one.
right, that's all the 1/8. Thank you
Cool.
guys for sticking with us. I know it's been a long 1x8 review, but
You want to take a little break again?
Yep.